anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are at 11 o'clock. And Tears, if you're the only person here in class, then after I do a quick thing, then for the actual lecture part, I might just move up to my office. So I did have a question about this names and narratives assignment. And if I have one question, that means a whole bunch of other people probably also have questions. So this is for this week. It's based off of this reading here, our week 6 reading. So names, narratives, and the evolution of ethnic identity. So it's a 4-page reading about names, narratives, and the evolution of ethnic identity. But what it means in regards to this assignment. So are there any specific names or narratives / stories basically that are unique to your particular culture? So the one I'm going to use for this is like the Irish travelers, like the Romani people over in Europe, more commonly known as the Gypsies. However, that is typically more of a slur and not really a name that you should be calling them. So what are the names and narratives related to that? So one of those names might be Gypsy. It came from a slur, probably from the Egyptian people. Not entirely positive on that, I'd have to do research. But it's turned into one of those sayings, like I'm sure most of us have heard, oh, well, you got gypped on that, right? You got a bad deal. But that's one of the names that has a more negative connotation.
The person talking today, and another teacher over the weekend about it. She has some stuff.
Okay. So have people from this culture reclaimed the name? There are cultures that have taken slurs and reclaimed that so that they use that term or that name, that word to refer to each other by, rather than using it as a slur that someone from another culture might have. Are there any narratives or stories behind how these names have formed or come to be? So maybe what is some of the history behind these names? This doesn't have to just be like, you know, slurs and stuff. This could just be cultural names. And like names, I mean like the names that people are called. So maybe in a certain culture, a lot of people get biblical names or names from the Quran. If you look at a lot of Middle Eastern cultures, you see a lot of people named Muhammad. So that could be, okay, well, where does this name come from? What's the story behind that? Well, if a lot of people within that particular culture are Muslim, then they might name their children more frequently after the Prophet Muhammad. You see the name Jesus a lot in Hispanic culture, but you probably don't see a lot of Europeans or European Americans named Jesus. So why is that different? Why is Jesus, basically the same name, more popular in Latin-speaking countries or Latin-based countries, Hispanic countries, and the name Jesus is not popular here? And then cultural stories. So does your particular culture have any particular stories that they tell? So this could be like mythology, this could be legends, you know, so how the world was formed, how this particular culture came to be. So folk stories, legends, teaching, moral lessons. So if we think about traditional American ones, Tortoise and the Hare, we get told that story as a little kid to show it's like, you know, slow and steady wins the race. Paul Bunyan, I'm sure most of us have heard about that, especially if we sang like the Paul Bunyan songs in school, but that might be a more particularly Midwest thing. I'm trying to think of like what Southwest legends or folk stories would be. The only one I can think of is Skinwalkers because someone did a speech about that, but I'm pretty sure that's like bad luck to like talk about. But legend could be Bigfoot, the origin of the Cherokee Roses from the Trail of Tears, stuff like that. But this is definitely something that you can use as part of your ethnography. You know, this could be 1 or 2 pages, you know, going towards your 7 to 10 page paper that you would have written, you know, here as of, you know, February 27th at midnight, that you're just like, hey, when it comes time to do my ethnography, I have part of it written. Same with like the language presentation and other things that are coming out. These can definitely be part of your ethnography. So it's helpful to, you know, answer these questions as fully as you can, find as much information in it, and cite your sources, so that when it comes time, you can just say, hey, look, here's all my in-text citations for this. I'm just going to throw it into my paper, copy, paste my references down below, and it's all good. So for the people who emailed me about this, do you have any more questions about this? Like I said, the information, a lot of it's coming from this week 6 reading, these names, narrative, and the evolution of ethnic identity. But we've also explained a little bit about it here. So questions about this? Okay. So, well, if there is no questions, hopefully I explained it well enough then. But feel free to email me if you have any more questions. So just let me know and I am happy to help you. Everyone's on Zoom. Tirza, would you like to stay in the classroom today or would you like to go on Zoom? Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll start in the lecture, but if you want to just head over to the library, you can. If you want to stay here, you are welcome to. So